eternally but expanding. Einstein himself applied his theory to model this universe, an expanding universe.
Expanding universe. That
Actually,
expansion of universe is start from Big Bang, and Big Bang is start of the expansion
no,
of
actually,
universe.
I am going to are the theoretical considerations of Alexander Friedman.
So we cannot arise the question before Big Bang. Is there only one Big Bang, or in future another Big Bang can occur?
Big Bang as the origin of this universe.
Welcome to podcast episode. Today I have an opportunity to discuss some topics with Dr. Zahid Mughal. He's a cosmologist, and today we are going to discuss very interesting topic. The point is that what is Big Bang actually?
Actually,
Yes.
if you don't use the word actually, then Big Bang, everyone knows what might be it. Bang means a great noise, explosion. For example, you thrust your hand on this table and it creates a great noise. That is bang. But now you have used the word actually.
Yeah.
So when you use the word actually, then I have to take it. It means the Big Bang theory scientifically.
Yes.
So almost I believe now everyone is familiar with it. Big Bang actually. that the cosmic this universe emerged or sprang from a big bang, sprang through a big bang,
Spreading.
spreading from a single point. Those who claim that the creation of their universe actually happened from a single point to a big bang. Actually, these are the words that Fred Hoyle uttered pejoratively, stultifyingly. So, Fred Hoyle proposed a steady state theory actually gave this name, not positively remarking to this theory, rather pejoratively. So this name was so became so famous that you can find millions of billions names based on this Big Bang on many electronic media sources, etc. However, in 1940, uh, a great work was rendered by a student of Alexander Friedman, uh, as how was the universe started from a big bang, or started through the interpretation of the expansion, and how the early elements like hydrogen, helium, and neutrinos, etc., are formed. Actually, in 1940 and later in 1960, when the CMB was discovered accidentally. CMB means cosmic microwave background.
Cosmic microwave background.
This is actually, these words require great attention. Cosmic microwave background is the electromagnetic radiation of microwave nature, or falling in the microwave part of the electromagnetic spectrum, that bears uniform temperature of of about 2.7 Kelvin across the universe, throughout the universe, and is actually postulated, considered as the uh, remnants of the Big Bang, as the imprints that Big Bang left behind in this space. So, CMB is the greatest evidence for supporting the Big Bang theory of the beginning of the universe.
Okay, okay.
Now, turning towards your last question, that now it is considered that the expansion universe is not only expanding, rather it is expanding acceleratedly. Yes.
Yes.
In 19, actually, what we call matter is in the form of stars, planets, and other rocks we are familiar with. So, in this context, uh, greatly in 19, in the about in 1990, around this time, scientists speculated that in the known form of matter, no expansion might be decelerating, might be slowing down. So there were from America and from NASA two teams working on it.
जब आए सर पे मुसीबतों का पहाड़ तो क्यों न पहले ही पहन लो इंश्योरेंस
Uh, led by the great astronomers like Saul Perlmutter, etc. They actually found in 1998 that rather rather slowing down the expansion of the universe, it is extending acceleratedly. It is accelerating.
Accelerating.
So 1929 is the year when the cosmic expansion was discovered by Edwin Hubble.
Okay.
And 1998 is the year when it was found that this expansion, instead of slowing down, it is accelerating.
Accelerating. Okay.
And here I would like also to remark that Stephen Hawking uh, later on remarked that when actually in 1929 Hubble discovered that the cosmic this universe is expanding. Uh, Stephen Hawking remarked that this is the same universe that is discovered by Hubble. Actually, it is the same universe that was theoretically predicted by Friedman. It is, and Friedman was Russian. It is the great credit to the Alexander Friedman findings and his work. Theoretically, actually, he completed all things. However, they might be contributed unknowingly the same things. However, when observationally it is found that the universe is expanding, so Stephen remarked that it is the same universe that was theoretically worked by
Friedman.
this is how the story of the cosmic origin, known as the Big Bang theory, goes on.
And expansion and this universe going toward end. This was a great discussion, but I have another question. This is fantastic, and many people confused like me. When we discuss the Big Bang theory, there is some confusion. If the Big Bang occurred, what was before Big Bang?
Oh, actually, this is the philosophical question that might be addressed. In actually, what is the realm or regime of sciences? Is the intellectual field. Intellectual field means through whatever we obtain through senses, the data obtained through the senses, our five senses, and processed by the brain, our mind. That is intellect. That is the realm of sciences.
Science, positive
So,
sciences.
in one sense, I could respond to your question by saying that this question does not fall in the realm of sciences because sciences discuss only what could be addressed to the senses, to our intellect. When there is nothing at all, then a science or a student of science, why should raise this question? What was before
We can,
physicality?
but easy answer. If anyone asks what was before Big Bang, we can say nothing. It's mean before the Big Bang was nothing.
Actually, there is a great dictum, you may call a law or principle in Greek philosophy, and later in 17th century philosopher also it is stated. Uh, Ex nihilo nihil fit. Nothing comes out of nothing.
Nothing comes out of nothing.
Out of nothing. I mean to say, or philosophers meant to say that, or scientists may argue that whatever emerged and now is our universe, from that point, that was actually nothing before it gave in the form of giving out this universe. Actually, that was pure potential.
And
In Urdu, we call bilkuwa maujood hona. So, the point out of which or from which this universe sprang out, that point was actually potentially or in potency, assimilating the whole cosmic effect, but in potency, potentially. Now this is the act. How this universe we are calling as universe is act. That was potentiality. Potency. So potency or potentiality can never be annihilated or mortalized. It just transforms from form. There is the concept of cyclic universe. or we call as the Big Bang was not the just beginning of this universe we are part of. Actually, it was Big Bang was the contraction of the previous universe and then contracted it re-emerged in the form of bang, complete bang or emergence or bangings.
Okay, okay, you are right. But another way we can say that if before the Big Bang there was no time, no space, so we cannot arise the question before Big Bang.
Actually, this question automatically uh, loses its meaning because science can only talk about a thing when it comes into space and time.
Okay,
And if again, if science persists that I have right to raise this question, then science must be philosophized, or you can say religionized.
good, good. There is another question in my mind. Is there only one Big Bang, or in future another Big Bang can occur, or Big
Actually,
Bang is only unique and it was one?
actually, if you could provide me an opportunity, we could talk about it in detail more after this.
Okay,
Actually, inflationary universe is now an disentanglingly attached with the Big Bang. Inflation means that in the very first second of the occurrence of the Big Bang, you can say in the trillionth of the first second, when the universe started, and superluminary, much faster light than the speed of light,
okay.
and that occurred just in a very small fraction of the first second. This
Introducing Pelfit Wash, fully automatic washing machine designed especially for Pakistan. जिसकी आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस संभाले बड़े से बड़ा लोग और टच एंड गो करे एक बटन से.
ultra fast expansion of the universe in the very first second is known as inflation.
Inflation.
And the pioneer of it is still living in America from MIT. Alan Smith.
Okay, okay.
So, inflation theory and the Big Bang as the origin of this universe now are actually studied concomitantly. Concomitantly means that they are the integral part of each other in making a good theory of the beginning of the universe.
Okay.
Now, inflation theory allows us that there are this our universe, observable universe, just is one case that came out to Big Bang. However, there are occurring many other such Big Bang or inflations uh, that are creating such universes. But we can't get access to them easily because we are just restrained by so vastness in this universe and where to go beyond to them. So there is a likely possibility that there may be many other such universes. As the Imam Razi from Islamic world in his exegesis on the Quran said that uh, that God can is actually God is potent to create not only this universe but many universe like this.
Or create it.
But this is
Or
a
can
religious
create.
view. But a scientific view also endorses it.
Okay, okay. There are much more gap to discuss this topic, and today discussion was very fantastic. I enjoy and learn the much more things. I am very thankful to you. I hope you all are enjoying this discussion, and your comment will be very encouraged to discuss another topic. Thank you, sir, and thank you watching for this podcast. We can say that the time start with universe and will be end with universe.
And you will not be able to talk about the dimensionality of the space. So if there is idea of thingness, there are things in space, then we actually need to talk about the dimensionality of the space. This mobile has three dimensions.
Yeah.
The denser energy that are the solid objects who
But
occupy.
question is emerging in my mind. How we can locate the things in space? So we can say that
So-
vacuum is a space.
So, according to these my set words, there is no difference between the solid things, all the things we are seeing, even we are made up. Our thought call it as space.
But there is direction exists in space.
Actually,
This is the
I-
direction. Direction
Kindly
means
give me
it's
some time to
psychological.
talk about it. Actually, space is not something as it appears as that. If you are using the word recycling parallel to repetition, then this is not reality. A thing
Is becoming entities.
entities. They are
Where from
can't
coming things?
actually when we say existence, it means that whenever we talk about time, actually the idea of things apparently irreversible succession.
But in our dream thinking, we are talking about previous time and past.
A succession in the past
Time is irreversible.
that if no one asks me about time, I know.
Welcome to another podcast session. I am your host, Yasir Jami. I hope you all are doing well. Again, Dr. Zahid Mughal with me. Thank you, sir. I hope you are doing well.
Yes, I'm fine.
Today, we will discuss some different topics. I am thinking about the time. What is time? Space and time. Space time. I am confused. These are related entities. And what is reality behind these concepts?
Actually, to talk about time is not something easy. The concept of time is so difficult and abstruse, complicated that if one knows it, it is not easier despite knowing to express it suitably. As I can remind you about an earlier Christian philosopher and theologian, Saint Augustine from Hippo city, that was an ancient city,
Okay.
who wrote in his Confessions book that if no one asks me about time, I know. However, if I have to explain it to someone, I don't know. So this is actually perfectly reflects the nature of time, and such expressions can hardly be found uh, everywhere. So, according to my best ability, I may share some uh, ideas and the concepts about it. However, the reality of it is not easy. The conceived reality by one person to make it express to some other. However, if we could see inwardly, psychologically, we see that time is the continuous progression of existence that occurs at an apparently irreversible succession in the past.
Time is irreversible.
Yes, it is thought, it is taken.
But scientifically, some scientists say that we can travel
Actually,
in time.
let me first complete that.
Okay,
That
okay.
actually irreversible succession in the past through the present into the future. For example, I'm putting before you that just see inwardly, and you will see that it is the flow of existence, a flux of existence.
Existence is irreversible.
We see it is irreversible. A day gone never returns. We see it.
Exactly, this is reality.
So time is taken as an apparently, I am using the word apparently, or as sciences usually present, apparently irreversible succession.
But in our dream thinking, we are talking in our previous time and past.
Actually, it is premature to talk about dreams. First, we have to understand what is existence. If we could understand what is meant by existence, then the whole fabric of dreams uh, can be stripped away from this. So, if I put to you that, how do you perceive existence?
As a physical science, there are things that existence.
Actually, time through its essential element of substratum temporality flow
Oh, okay.
breeds the idea of thingness. Whenever we talk about time, actually the idea of thingness emerges surfaces. Because when I say it is a flow of existence, it means that there are things in their entirety in my surrounding that are interrelated happening after one another.
Okay.
But in order to understand existence, I use the word thing, thingness. So, if what we see things as already completed entities, this is not reality. Actually, what we know as things are the becoming entities. A thing,
Is a becoming entities.
entities. They are
Where from
conti-
coming these?
Actually, when we say existence, it means that there are states after states in relation to the things. Things are continuously changing their states from one to the other. So, this is how we ascribe the word thingness
This,
or becoming
this,
to all these things.
this is like a transformation from
So
one
time
state
is
to another state.
transformation.
So time is
Time is
transformation.
no more than transformation. However, there are its philosophical aspects, psychological and physical, and cosmological.
Okay, okay, okay.
Actually, the whole existential reality is in continuous flow like a river flows. And it is our thought that carves out, chisels out the concept of solid thingness out of it, out
Okay.
of this continuous flowing reality.
It's like flowing, but there is a recycling. Recycling is also a
No,
time.
no.
Can exist.
Actually, if you are using the word recycling parallel to repetition, then this
Repetition.
is not reality. Actually, in nature, every movement is newer, is naive, is something advanced thing. Nature does not repeat itself. Rather, every movement of the nature is a new creation,
Always new.
always new. So, time to talk about or ask a question about time means or amounts to asking the nature of existence that has been bred along its temporality.
Okay, okay.
Similarly, but you didn't pose the question of what is a space.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to know. I want to interesting to knowing about the relation between space and time. Always we speak space, time, space and time, space and time. What is the
Space
relation?
actual time actually in itself can never be perceived. As I said, time only become perceptible or perceivable if it brings in its sway the idea of thingness. If there are no things, no mutual relationship, no correlations, there will be no creation, there will be no time. Their time will be temporality free time, but that time cannot be apprehended by a human mind. What human mind is habitual to apprehend is time with temporality, flow of time. That is actually attached with the idea of thingness.
Okay.
Things are being transformed from state to state. Likewise, it's a inseparable, integral part, space. Space is not something as it appears as static, three-dimensionally that we see. Actually,
But it is
to a,
physical entity. Space is physical entity, has dimension, one dimension, 2D, 3D, 4D.
uh, how can you say? Can you see space having three dimensions?
But if it is in
Let
this,
first me rephrase it, then your question will be addressed. To a layman, space is this empty void, empty expanse. Okay,
okay,
but what the quantum field theory, in quantum mechanics teaches us is that what we call space are actually of quantum fluctuations of physical fields. These quantum fluctuations can be taken as waves of such mentioned fields. Now, when these waves are characterized with all the types of wavelengths, frequencies, and all the counterpart characteristics or properties. When such waves are macroscopically are averaged for a long span of time, they vanish, leaving behind a fact that our thought can't take as a thing, rather feels it something vacuum like. Our thought call it as space.
but there is direction exists na, in space. This
Actually,
is the
I
direction. Direction mean
kindly
it's
give me some
like a
time
physical
to
entity.
talk about it. Actually, what I am saying is that the existential reality that is perceived in space and time is actually, as I said earlier, flow of this existence. And it is our thought through its construct of space and time. Actually, thought carves out when our thought through its instruments of senses sees it, sees around it in its vicinity. Then, where there is denser energy density of existence, thought reads it as thing,
Thing. Yeah, yeah.
and where there is quantum like energy vibrations, it reads that as vacuum and calls it as space.
So we can say that
So,
vacuum is a
so
space.
according to these my said words, there is no difference between the solid things, all the things we are seeing, even we are made up of, and this empty void we call space. There is no difference.
You,
Just difference is of denser and lighter energy density.
you are right. Your definitions are true. But question is emerging in my mind: how we can locate the things in space if it is not like a
Oh, now I
physical?
address that question. Okay. Space actually does not have any dimension. Space is what I just described or defined before you.
Like a vacuum.
Actually, now this lighter energy density fluctuations allow the solid energy density in itself that are called things. Okay, this is the perception of time. This is the understanding of our thought
Time should.
that one energy density is read by our thought as a solid thing and the other as a space vacuum. However, what I am calling space are the quantum fluctuations of quantum fields, as I said earlier. Now, what the denser energy density, that is a solid thing, when is put in this quantum fluctuation energy density. Now, thought only sees an object when there are three dimensions attached to that body or
Yeah,
object.
X, Y, Z,
For
direction,
example,
dimension.
if an object, all the objects or things we are seeing around us are three dimensional.
Yeah.
If one dimension is made to zero, is made to vanish, I am putting to you this challenge of seeing that can you see that object in that state when one dimension has been made zero?
It's difficult to see. It will be invisible, maybe. Maybe visible.
It will become invisible. So to be an object, to be a body, requires necessarily three dimensions. Actually, this low density quantum fluctuations we call space allow the denser energy that are the solid objects to occupy, to reside in it. So actually, we ascribe the dimension of an object to this space like energy fluctuations. Or in simple words, when we talk about the dimensionality of space, actually dimensions belong to the objects that are residing in the space.
It means
For
space.
example, this mobile has three dimensions.
Yeah.
Dimensions are ascribed to this mobile. But in mathematics and physical sciences, we talk about the dimension of space. Actually, this mobile is allowed by this space to get be occupied. So the property of dimensionality of this object actually is given to that space that occupy it.
Okay, okay. You are saying well.
If actually you take you take out all the objects from this space somehow, if you can take, then space will become meaningless and you will not be able to talk about the dimensionality of the space. So if
Space-
there is idea of thingness, there are things in space, then we actually need to talk about the dimensionality of the space, of how many nature of what nature the objects this space can occupy.
Space dependent on objects.
You
Without
can
space,
say.
without objects, space is not
Actually,
anything.
modern physics, what modern physics taught us is the idea you are talking about.
Okay, okay. Okay.
If there are no objects in this space, whole space, the space will demolish itself.
Okay, okay. You well said, but I can say that time is existence and space has not any existence. How we can relate these to each other? One is existence, one is existence
Actually,
dependent on objects.
if you know, in the Greek antiquity, Aristotle wrote a small booklet named as categoria. Now, English word is
Categorical
category.
category.
That is actually the name of that book.
Okay, okay.
Okay. In that book, Aristotle actually discerned 10 categories. One is uh, one is substance, and other are accidents.
Accidents.
Accidents means philosophically that could not subside itself, that could not exist themselves. They actually, their existence actually depends upon other things like colors, dimensions, because object is there and it has properties that are fixed to it, like colors, weight, voluminous, and all such. All these are the accidents in philosophy, in Greek philosophy. In that philosophy, there were 10 categories that were used to describe the complete world. Now, out of that 10 categories, the modern physical sciences has adopted seven physical quantities. You would have to, learned in physics.
Yeah.
And out of seven base physical quantities, three are the most fundamental: length, mass, and time.
These are fundamental.
But what is the difference? In Greek time, when Aristotle discerned 10 categories to define the complete world, actually, that 10 categories were discerned, were distinguished, or described or defined in qualitativeness, to see the qualitative aspects of the things. But modern sciences have taken 7 out of those 10, which belong to the quantitative aspects of the things. For example, uh, in 10 Aristotelian categories, uh, place or space
Place or
is
space are exact, or there are
actually
another?
more general is space, and place is a particular case of space.
Okay.
Some place in space. So Aristotle defined place or space as one category from that 10, and that is the qualitative aspect of a thing. However, in our 7 base physical quantities, that is transformed into length,
Okay.
not space. Space is a general term or word. But out of that place or space, when we talk about one dimension as length, width, or height,
So we
then that is measurable.
so
That
we
is quantitative aspect.
okay. So we can say that space is like a darkness. Absence of thing is space. Absence of place is space.
Absence of
Place, things, objects.
yes, you are
It's look
talking
like a
very
darkness.
beautifully. Actually, what you are talking that if there is no place in the space,
Yeah.
whether the space would subside its existence there. So I am saying that if all the objects somehow are taken away or taken out of it,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
then space could not uh, keep itself there as a existing entity or reality.
Because it is dependent on these places and things.
Actually, the more general idea is that space, time, and matter are concomitant. Concomitant means that could exist interdependently.
Yes. Okay.
So if there is space, there must be time. And if there is matter, consider you are unfamiliar with the idea of time and space. You just talk about matter. Matter itself will breed the idea of space and time, because space and time uh, in their inner reality breed the idea of thingness. If there is something, then time and space or space time become meaningful. So uh, this is how we put these entities at introductory level. However, their philosophical aspects, their psychological aspects, and their cosmological aspects are yet there to be talked about. And they are very interesting. And there is a great deal of
There is
profound thinking regarding these aspects.
similarities exist, or these three concepts are different.
No, actually, for the first time, when the beginning of this universe started, that was the beginning of time as well.
Okay.
That is
Beginning of universe
that
is the beginning of
scientists
time.
have theorized beginning of time at the Big Bang, because Big Bang is the first movement of time when creation started.
So we can say that the time start with universe and will be end with universe.
Yes, presently physical theories are thinking at this in this direction are thinking. However, when for the first time cosmologically universe began, time started.
And when universe will be end, time will be end.
Yes, you can conclude from it. However, and how the universe did begin?
Big Bang.
Big Bang, something came into existence. Actually, what I want to stress is that Big Bang started, time began. That is, something came into being due to time. However, the reality of this natural phenomena you possess, I have, I was not there then, because emergence of man in the universe started far beyond the Big Bang occurred. So it means that cosmological time started far before the emergence of man. However, the time you are perceiving as the necessary ingredients of the flow of existence in you, that is your psychological time.
Okay, okay.
And on the other aspect, when we focus on the philosophy of time, the whole existence to the eyes of a philosopher becomes unreal. All this reality is not objectively existing there. Rather, it is my subjective inward phenomena, my psychological phenomena. If I am here, all the things are there.
Yeah. Okay, okay.
So these aspects are in this way uh, interrelated. However, they can be discerned with contrast to our with regard to our presence here and our non-presence. So this is how we somehow can talk about time and space.
space. Some scientists says that we can travel in time. What is your opinion in light of your knowledge? We can travel in time. Time travel
Actually,
is
time
possible.
travel is one physical application put forward by the uh, theory of relativity
Yeah.
as by Einstein. However, physically, until now, this has been made possible. However, what it actually means, it can't be said easily. Actually, what the unfolding by mystics say, maybe that would be the time travel, because modern psychology and the revelations of the mystics all say that all the existence, all the consciousness lies coalesced, light in unison with one another. We are, according to our thoughts, two persons. But if we somehow can suppress our thought, and thought means our egos, our me's, our memory as knowledge. If somehow we can suppress, then we will get unified.
Okay.
So it is our egos, our thoughts that are making us two individuals. So time travel, I believe that it is already has been traveled by
Travel.
the saints, by the prophets, by the mystics. However, how it can be perceived, understood, figured out physically,
Physically, yeah.
that yet remains there, and relativity theories have given a direction to explore it, but there is no powerful advance in this direction yet. However,
In future will be
in
maybe.
future, maybe there be great stride to understand it.
Okay, okay. Thank you for your precious time. Today we'll discuss about space, time and space and these concepts. Thank you for watching. If you are new viewer, kindly subscribe, like, share, and comment, and stay tuned for the next coming episodes. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your precious time again, and thank you for watching this podcast.
हर मैदान में शेर ड्यूरोफॉर्म प्राइस चैलेंज के सामने बाकी सारे मैट्रेसेस क्लीन बोर्ड
Is I will be right when I say the positive science is 100% science and normative sciences are 70% sciences and 30% philosophy.
No, if actually, but actually relaxes
But
empiricism
I am
and
confused. This is no science. It should be a philosophy only.
actually
not
I
In
to
the
explain it,
definition.
I will say that sciences have been actually this point a normative science can also violate.
It's not science.
What type of change occurs in you?
But
It is
more
not
violation
necessary.
exists.
It is not necessary.
Dr. Zahid Mughal with me. Welcome to another podcast session. I am your host, Yasir Jami. Again, I have opportunity Dr. Zahid Mughal with me. Thank you, sir, for your precious time. In today's podcast session, I want to ask about the positive sciences and normative sciences. While we know that science should be science, why we prefixes the word positive and normative before the word science? What is the logic?
Great questions you are posing now to the best of my abilities. However, why these two prefixes have been put before the word science to make two different sciences?
Yeah.
So, first we have to recall what a science is. And you can reminiscence of that podcast in which we discussed about science. You know, science is the systematic pursuit or body of knowledge that organizes and builds up the knowledge of the natural world in the form of predictable explanations and predictions, and works on the principle of scientific method.
Which is objective reality. We can say that.
One of the pillars, basic pillars, obviously is objective,
Yes.
objective reality, to discuss objective reality. However, just briefly mentioning, empiricism.
Yes, we have
And
discussed in previous
empiricism
podcast.
means that science develops knowledge based on observation and experimentation, and technically, a posteriori knowledge based on induction is actually comes under empiricism. However, that is totally comprehensively related to the objective world, the natural world
Yes.
that is outerly expanding in all directions, centering us. And the third basic pillar of scientific method is of testability, that the knowledge collected from the objective world, the natural world, can be tested. Without testing knowledge and then getting it verified, it can't be called as a scientific knowledge. And there are other three points which are notedly under the objective and the empiricism, and that the scientific knowledge can be repeated, and this knowledge is actually parsimonious,
Yeah.
and that is conciseness of this knowledge.
Because of failure, it will be repeated or any other reason.
Not failure, but
Science can be failed.
maybe another experimenter can on repetition produce the same results
Okay,
as
okay.
you did or the first person.
It will be fulfill the definition of science.
However, if the second observer, or when the results are repeated in second experiment, if the results don't agree with the first, so then some modification may be recommended, and again passing through the scientific method, that knowledge can be improved, regained in improved form. And in the last, what we know in the scientific community, peer review, that actually validate the scientific knowledge. So this is science, organized body of knowledge, characterized with the ability to predict. When you just spoke the word normative science against a positive science, so you and maybe some other people interested in knowing, then why the word positive
Yes,
has been
yes.
prefixed with the word science. Actually, to differentiate between these two, positive and normative science, we have to survey their actual object of study. From generally, when we were describing a science, we knew that science actually is based upon the data collected by sense perception or instruments applied by sense perception or man-made instruments. However, that is totally related to the objects in the outer world. Sensations or sense data is totally have objects in the outer world. That is objectivity. So when we have to differentiate this from other sciences, we prefix a word positive science. Positive science actually deals with what is.
What is?
Is what is here means that what is existing right now, here, now,
Okay.
as it is, without suggesting or prescribing anything uh, that such knowledge may be mapped onto a norm, to an idealized situation. Scientific knowledge is actually the knowledge of the outer reality of the physical world, of the natural world as it is.
What is?
This is meant by the what is. Science does not care to prescribe how the nature have to work. Just collect data and builds upon it such explanations and predictions about this world which are fruitful for humanity, or another way that actually give the knowledge of the world. We don't prescribe while working in a positive science that the nature should behave like this,
Okay.
or nature must not be do this. We just actually want to know what is,
What
how
is?
it is being done or it is being performed by
In,
the natural laws.
in simple wording, we can say that the positive sciences are what is.
What is, it does not prescribe anything, just describes.
Okay.
Positive science deals with describing the reality of the outer world, the objective reality as it appears to us, as it is existing right now, here in the now. So a positive science always have an object of study out of our mind, objectively existing there somewhere in the outer environment. And that knowledge, as we discussed, gathered based upon the scientific method, is known as positive knowledge. A positive science actually gives us positive knowledge.
Positive knowledge.
And by positive knowledge, we mean that there is inextricably objective study out of there, in the external, in the outer, existing as an objective reality. So, positive science, I think you would have understood that, is totally the study of nature as it is. However, here are some interesting points to discuss. Actually, a positive science is concerned with the sense perception data, as we already mentioned. And perceptions are based upon the data collected by our sensations. And what looks to our sensations? For example, we already have discussed, when we look upon a flower, it is a beautiful flower that fascinates us.
Yes.
But in actuality, what is that? Colors are due to light, and light is merely form of energy. However, science accepts that form of the flower as it is, and then it accumulates other properties of that flower and builds upon that properties what that may be as a form of reality we call a flower. However, that flower per se in itself may be something else. However, in positive sciences, by listening me, you can yourself recall, uh, mention that positive sciences then could be a physics, because physics studies matter and energy and their mutual relationship that exist outer. Even we ourselves are made up of matter.
Like applied science.
Chemistry, biological sciences, and all such sciences whose objects of study are actual physical reality, physical
Reality.
bodies.
Okay.
Now, in contrast to this, we mentioned that normative science. That is a science. There should be no doubt that normative normative science, being a science, must have object of study in the outer. But this does not come true. Actually, a normative science can be put in words as it concerns itself with what ought to be, what should be, which means that a normative science, rather giving a proper description to the nature as it exists, it tries to prescribe something, prescription, just as doctors give prescription for their patients. So prescription leads to some norms, though that norms are defined by humanity, by humans, by great minds like prophets and other ameliorators and other great minds. So the word normative is actually adjective of the norm,
Okay.
a standardized thing. What is a norm? A standardized thing. So normative science actually want to compare or map onto something already defined and prescribed norms. And in this trying in this struggle of prescription and mapping over to some norm, normative science leads to have ideals or form ideals. Some person wants to become like that person. Today I am this, I want to be something else tomorrow. This whole journey actually falls in the realm of a normative science. For example, actually, a normative science relaxes, not whole, a few points from the scientific method. We may see that, for example, the first condition of empiricism, a normative science may relax. And secondly, that is very primary condition for a science to be a science, objectivity. Actually, to to the standard definition of the science, normative science must fulfill the criterion of the scientific method. But actually, though that is called a science, but actually relaxes
But
empiricism.
I am
and
confused. This is no science. It should be a philosophy only.
actually
It's not.
I will say that, sciences have been evolving over the time, passing through the process of uh, improvement and also of separating unnecessary things from it. So in 19th century, the word science was used purely for the natural sciences.
Natural sciences.
And natural science means the objective sciences that stringently apply the scientific method for their study. However, with the passage of time, other sciences, for example, humanity and other social sciences, started to implement the critical analysis of their data and the evidence-based results they tried to finding out. So based on that critical analysis, evidence-based reasoning, they are this they have been called as science. However, if you stick to the normalized definition of a science, so I become here helpless that I further put arguments to you. However, normative science does not have its objects of study as something tangible, palpable in the outer world. However, for example, mathematics, metaphysics, social sciences, philosophy, ethics, aesthetics, all such sciences, though they study and analyze the data, collected from the outer world.
Outerward.
But after they have processed that data and have found out some results, their object of study that has come out from data analysis does not lie in the outer. That is actually change in ourselves.
It's like hidden data and hidden things.
However, hidden things have impacts in the objective world.
Objective. Okay, okay. This is the main reason. All right, you have well defined the science, and we can easily understand the positive science is what is. And when we define the normative philosophy, I using words philosophy because I think this is not fulfilling the complete definition of science. So normative philosophy is what ought to be, and it's look like hidden things, hidden norms. But the science, applied science, positive science, we can openly say that this is science. But about the normative, I think we should say that it is
To
philosophy, not
make it
science.
further clear, okay, I am actually getting you what do you want to say.
Hi everyone, I'm Emma. We've just taken a hit and are working on repairs for the space station.
In order to further take us clarified, we just have an example. For example, a teacher when says to his student that you should do more than what you are doing. Actually, this is prescription. This, in usual language, in colloquial language, we may call it a description. However, wherever the word ought to, might be, and should be occurs, actually, technically, terminologically, there we should use the word the teacher is prescribing something to that student. So when I expect that this student can more than the presently he is doing, actually I am prescribing to him that you can do more. This is the statement of normative science. Now, if that student changes, where is that change?
Okay, okay.
Although that change psychologically occurs in his brain, in his mind. However, can that be seen only if that change is seeable, is in the form of behaviors? What does he do? So, a normative science actually is a prescriptive science.
Descriptive science. Oh,
That
we can
this
say.
thing is like this, it should be, it ought to be like that. So this is the actually prescription. And if we observe a thing and we are contented with that, this is actually description of the physical science.
From this discussion, the another question is emerging in my mind. The sciences and positive sciences results are repetitive. Is there the results of normative sciences or philosophies also repetitive?
You actually want to say are repeatable,
Repeatable,
repeatability.
repeatability exists in the normative sciences like a positive sciences.
Actually, this point, a normative science can also violate.
It's not science.
What type of change occurs in you?
Much
It is
more
not
violation
necessary.
exists.
It is not necessary. The same change I must have occurred in me. My change, although that is change,
There is no must.
but there are different dimensions of that change.
Okay, okay.
However, there are various aspects in psychological sciences, in religion sciences, where such things occur. However, like science, a normative science observed by one person cannot be repeated on the same grounds by the other person. For example,
In from this aspect, it is not fulfilling the definition of science because the results are not repeating
Actually, you
in
are
the same
picking up
dimension.
the very challenging point in finding out harmony between the two different aspects of science.
Because I am confused. I think this should not be science, it should be a philosophy, because not fulfilling the definition of science from the all aspects. Maybe some.
No doubt you can say that this is actually philosophy. However, conventionally it has been called as a science. Even today, a subject of history is also called a science.
Oh,
Actually, critical analysis
it's mean we
and
can say that the historical sciences are the branch of normative sciences.
even there is a great deal of
But there is some
great,
reason exists. History repeats itself.
not in that sense. That actually is an important point of scientific method. For example, you say history repeats.
Philosophers say that
So,
history repeats itself.
so can you find a person like Socrates uh, that can be compared intellectually to Plato or some other philosopher of that capability and talent? It would not be possible.
Not possible.
There are many philosophers from the Eastern world and in the Western world. However, there are individual aspects and traits and properties that each one has. So, in this sense, though when we say outwardly, things and even individualities appear same. However, this similarity is not exact because nature in each moment of time is anew.
Okay.
Nature actually creates, and the word creates is opposite to the word repeat, repeats,
Repeats.
repetition.
It looks like a previous, but it's not a previous.
It
It
is
is a new,
not at
always
all
new.
the previous.
Every second is new.
If you allow me,
Every coming
I
seconds.
would like to put here the words by Iqbal. पसंद उसे तकरार की खू नहीं कि तू मैं नहीं और मैं तू नहीं.
Good.
That nature does not likes the same habit, same behavior is repeated. Rather, he does not like or she does not like that you might be me and me might be you. And that is actually emphasizing the individuality of each movement of time. Each movement of time is creative, is a new movement.
Okay, this is the
So-
human
And
sciences.
this actually leads to the flow of existential reality. Nature actually, if you could understand, can be only creative. It's if it creates, it does not repeat. Sorry.
But the process is same when sun rise in the next day, like the previous day. There is look like a
No.
repeat. All nights are repeating. The sun rising is repeating. Sometimes we think these all previous thing is repeating. But
Actually, you can be astonished at this that a Greek philosopher, a Hellenic period from the Hellenic period, but pre-Socrates philosophers, Heraclitus, what we would do in call Heraclitus,
Pitus.
has said that you can't cross a river twice, which means that When for the first time you crossed a river,
You have crossed.
now instantly after first crossing, if you try to cross next time that river, the river is new. You are not also the same. So this is actually the flow of existential reality.
Okay. Best example to understand this.
However, this is somewhat philosophically and actually belongs to normative science.
Okay.
So actually, what is the dynamics of nature? Uh, if I don't claim that to be a student of science, but I become a mistake, then I see reality, the physical reality, in continuous flow. So it is becoming as if that someone has prescribed it to transform from state to state and reach to its ultimate destination or what it want to be.
It's only transformation, step by step.
In most of the cases, the flow of natural reality, existential reality. So this is how uh, your question is responded, that positive science has been set aside from a normative science through the nature of their object of study. Obviously, a normative science leads to philosophy.
Okay. The human science, from the biological aspect, it is a positive science. From the behavior of humans, these are the normative sciences.
Actually, what you are naming as human science, we generally call it as social.